I'm debating these sons of... I'm out there on these right-wing shows, so I'm not scared to do that. Where the hell is the Democratic Party? Where's our equivalent of Turning Point USA?
Newsom's team doubled down, repeating the snack-size slap on X. Joe Rogan is a snack-sized podcaster who can't stop talking about me. Obsessed? Crush? No thank you. But is too scared to have me on and let his audience hear the truth.
He's talking some on Twitter.
I know, it's like, you think that's gonna work? Like, that's so stupid. Like, this is such a bad look.
Yeah.
It's such a bad choice.
There's a little desperation in it.
But it's just stupid. It's like, this is a bad strategy. Like, I probably would have had him on.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, nah, what are you doing?
There's a fun version where you just do it and cook them.
Let's dive into one of the strangest political spats in recent memory. One that somehow fits right into America in 2026. The governor of California and one of the world's biggest podcasters are publicly trading barbs. It's like playground drama. But the playground is Twitter, and the stakes are your tax dollars. One moment, the governor is saying, "Come on my show anytime." And the next, he's calling someone Snack-Size Joe, as if we're ranking public figures like they're fast food portions. If you're wondering why any of this matters, the answer is simple. This is what politics looks like today. And if you enjoy these candid, no-holds-barred breakdowns, don't forget to subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Things are only going to get more unpredictable from here.
Joe, why won't you have me on the show? He won't have me on the show. It's one way. And he has guests coming and attacking and bashing, but he will not have me on the show, period. Full stop. He should have me on the show. Come on my show.
Here's the core of the story. Joe Rogan is basically the ultimate master of long-form conversation. Love him or hate him. Mute him or follow him religiously. He has an audience that politicians can only dream of. And then you have Gavin Newsom, the classic polished politician. He's got the camera-ready smile, the perfect hair, and that "I was built for public office" energy. Give him a microphone, and he knows how to charm his way through any room. But here's the catch. Rogan does run a quick 7-minute cable segment where you drop a few buzzwords, nod to your values, and run to commercial. His show is more like the UFC octagon of conversation. The clock keeps ticking. The questions keep coming, and there's no safe exit. The vibe is raw and human. He wants answers, not pre-written talking points. And that's why this whole debate over why Newsom hasn't appeared on Rogan's podcast is so fascinating. It's not just about a single interview. It's about risk. Politicians, especially those with national ambitions, don't just fear debate. They fear losing control of the story. They worry about dodging a question for 2 minutes and suddenly becoming a viral clip with the caption, "He didn't answer." They fear the vibe shifting against them. They fear turning into a meme. And in today's world, that fear shapes how they show up or don't.
I'm debating these sons of... I'm out there on these right-wing shows, so I'm not scared to do that. Where the hell is the Democratic Party? Where's our equivalent of Turning Point USA?
Newsom's team doubled down, repeating the snack-size slap on X. Joe Rogan is a snack-sized podcaster who can't stop talking about me. Obsessed? Crush? No thank you. But is too scared to have me on and let his audience hear the truth.
He's talking some on Twitter.
I know, it's like, you think that's gonna work? Like, that's so stupid. Like, this is such a bad look.
Yeah.
It's such a bad choice.
There's a little desperation in it.
But it's just stupid. It's like, this is a bad strategy. Like, I probably would have had him on.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, nah, what are you doing?
There's a fun version where you just do it and cook them.
Now Newsom's team is trying to spin this as if Rogan is the one who's afraid. That's a storyline. He can't handle a real full-length debate. He's obsessed with me. He won't stop talking about me. It's like the political version of texting your ex 5 times in a row to prove you're over them. Sure, maybe Rogan is dodging it, but claiming the other guy is scared is tricky. In politics, insecurity is contagious. The moment you look desperate for a seat at someone else's table, you've already given up half the power before you even sit down. And that's where Newsom's challenge really shows. He's trying to do 2 very different things at once. He wants to be seen as a serious leader running a major state with real accomplishments. At the same time, he's trying to win a high school-style roast battle on social media. Those 2 energies don't mix. You can't talk about California as the 4th largest economy in one breath, and then call someone snack size in the next without looking like you're losing focus. It's like walking into a board meeting, slamming a spreadsheet on the table, and then shouting, "Also your mom." That doesn't show power, it shows confusion. Meanwhile, Rogan isn't holding back. He goes straight for the core of the argument. You can't ruin a city, then run a state, and then expect the presidency to be your redemption story. Whether you agree with him or not, the message lands because it reflects a real frustration that a lot of people feel. In California, the problem isn't always left versus right. It's the day-to-day reality of how expensive, slow, and messy things have become. And that's striking because California isn't just any state. It's an economic powerhouse, yet the frustration is widespread, cutting across party lines.
You can't ruin a city and then go on to ruin a state and say, guys, that was just practice.
I know.
Once I get it as a president, I'm going to fix it. Fix it all.
I mean, it's so crazy, but he's such a great politician. I mean,
No,
he's
he's
so
not.
smooth.
He's
You
not,
don't think
though.
so?
No, I think he's terrible.
Rogan attacking Newsom's job performance in California.
You have the highest unemployment.
Yeah.
You have the highest homelessness.
What's the name with Hollywood?
Money's missing. You killed Hollywood. Like, Hollywood doesn't exist anymore. It's literally gone.
Newsom responding to Rogan on X, posting California is the fourth largest economy in the world, but number one in manufacturing, farming, new business starts, tech and VC investments, Fortune 500 companies, public higher education. I could continue. Invite me on anytime, Joe Rogan.
Newsom isn't exaggerating when he points to California's stats. The state produces enormous economic output, hosts world-class universities, drives tech and entertainment, and leads in agriculture and venture capital. You name it. When it works, it's a powerhouse. But critics argue that these strengths are like owning a grand old mansion. Sure, you can brag about the property, but when a roof is falling in, people want to know, are you actually fixing anything or are you just throwing parties in the living room? That tension is really what this debate comes down to. Supporters say running California is insanely complicated. It's massive, diverse, and full of competing interests. Basically a country with a coastline. Critics respond with a simple, cool story, and then ask why daily life feels so expensive and stressful. Why homelessness looks like a crisis in broad daylight. Why housing takes forever to build. Why businesses keep leaving. And why public projects cost as if they're being made from diamonds and unicorn bones. This is where Rogan becomes tricky for Newsom. It's not that Rogan is some unbeatable debater. It's that he asks the questions people actually think about. Questions from folks stuck in traffic, seeing $7 gas signs, or tents under overpasses. He doesn't need a 40-page policy brief. He needs a clear answer that sounds real, not rehearsed or approved by a team of consultants. Newsom's defenders will argue that Rogan cherry-picks problems, focuses on negatives, and leaves out context, and sometimes that's fair. But Rogan's critiques stick because people can see the problems with their own eyes. This isn't theory. It isn't numbers on a spreadsheet. It's the daily reality of Californians who feel like they're paying luxury prices for basic necessities while navigating chaos and bureaucracy.
It was all that before you were there. It was all that forever. It's because the weather's perfect, man. It has nothing to do with you.
Newsom's team posting this photo on X, writing that, quote, little Joe is snack size because he can't handle full-size debates.
I'm not afraid to go. I'm punching Joe Rogan. Okay. That son of a bitch not used to that. And he's going to dismiss it. He's going to laugh it off. I mean, tough guy, all that, but he's going to have me on.
And then there's the bureaucracy. Bill Maher has been pointing this out for years in his own loud, funny, and somehow relatable way. His message is simple. California doesn't just have problems. It has a system built to slow down solving them. Endless permits, committees, and reviews. Everyone seems to have a job whose main goal is to slow everyone else down. The joke is, how may I hinder you? The punchline? Your tax bill. Take the classic public toilet story. Most people think a public toilet is a small building with a couple of stalls and plumbing. Done. In California, apparently, a public toilet becomes a massive project. Environmental studies, hiring consultants, commissioning public art, spending enough to buy a small island. The exact details don't really matter anymore. What matters is the feeling it creates. Californians instinctively understand that nothing here is simple. Every solution comes wrapped in red tape, expense, and complexity. And that frustration, funny, absurd, and infuriating, is exactly what Maher's been highlighting for years.
It's the vast network of regulators, administrators, inspectors, contract reviewers, project managers, fee assessors, special commissioners, zoning officers, and consultants whose jobs seem to be to make sure nothing ever happens and then charge you for it. The people who answer the phone, permit office, how may I hinder you?
Now, add the bigger controversies into the mix. Critics point to projects like the high-speed rail, which has become a punchline over the years. Billions spent, deadlines missed, promises shrinking. Homelessness programs get massive funding. Yet encampments keep growing. Wildfires hit again and again, testing the state's ability to respond. Water management swings between drought panic and emergency mode like it's a permanent state of crisis. Supporters will argue that these problems are historic, complex, and impossible to fix overnight. But critics ask a simple question. If California is so good at raising money and announcing big plans, why does it so often fail to deliver results? The frustration isn't theoretical. It's visible in everyday life, from the streets of Los Angeles to the hills of Sacramento. And that tension between ambition and execution is at the heart of why so many people tune into voices like Rogan's or Mars. They're pointing out what Californians already feel.
Is this a way that Republicans are just using illegal immigrants to deflect the conversation?
And the answer
is yes.
No, it is
yes.
not. You
Because
refuse to look at the facts.
illegal immigrants are not the reason why our healthcare system is broken.
Yeah, it's not deflection at all. In fact, I brought receipts. So here's the CMS, the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, right here with their press release earlier this year saying they were having to increase their oversight on states like California who were abusing Medicaid and classifying it as an EUSA, an emergency system, when it wasn't. You've got the average state spends 5% of its Medicaid roughly on emergency services. California, 35 to 40%. Why would that be? Because California passed a state law that says we will fund Medicaid for illegals, and then, oh, by the way, we'll raise our provider taxes, and then, oh, by the way, we'll use that as a match to draw down federal funds. And they're using this whole cavitation process.
An accounting trick to put it on the taxpayer.
Money is fungible, and California's loophole is abused.
This is exactly the kind of situation that makes a Rogan interview a pressure cooker. Rogan doesn't have to win. His job is just to keep the conversation in that uncomfortable zone long enough for the audience to notice when a politician isn't really answering. And if Newsom's critics are right about his habit of long explanations, big gestures, and polished phrasing, then an unscripted setting could backfire badly. On a debate stage, you can dodge questions. On cable news, you can pivot. On a podcast, the host simply leans back and says, "Okay, but you didn't answer." That's why the snack-sized jab feels like a cell phone. If you were truly confident you could handle Rogan, there'd be no need for playground insults. You just show up, answer the questions, present your facts, and let your performance speak for itself. Instead, what we're seeing is political theater. One side says he's scared of me. The other says, you're scared of the format. Meanwhile, voters aren't interested in who's scared. They just want answers. Why does it cost so much to live here? Why does it feel like the state is falling apart despite all the money spent? And the story goes beyond Newsom versus Rogan. Democrats have a real media problem with men, especially younger men. Even Newsom has acknowledged it. While the left dominates certain traditional institutions, the right has built a strong presence in podcasts, online culture, and the long-form hangout and talk ecosystem. Influencers, comedians, debate-focused commentators, and organizations like Turning Point USA have created a content pipeline that constantly reaches people where they spend their time. When people ask, where is the Democratic Party's equivalent? It's not just a small question. It's a critical strategic issue. Politics today isn't just about policy. It's about distribution, attention, and presence. If the right is winning in podcasts and online spaces, while the left still relies mostly on legacy media, that is a serious mismatch.
Governor Newsom has repeatedly said that Democrats need to do a much better job attracting men, especially young men who are often drawn to podcasts. And Aaron, nobody does that better than Joe Rogan. His interview with then candidate Trump last year got 60 million views on YouTube alone.
But here's the irony. The solution isn't tweeting insults at podcasters. The real solution is actually doing what you claim you can do, showing up in tough rooms and proving you can handle the pressure. If you want younger men and everyday voters to take you seriously, you can't speak like a press secretary reading from bullet points. You have to speak like a person. If you fail to do that, people assume you're hiding something. Even if you're not, online perception becomes reality. And today, online is where elections get framed. Then there's a personal narrative Newsom keeps trying to emphasize. The idea that his story has been misunderstood, that he's not the silver spoon politician people think he is. Politicians can absolutely tell their stories, but you can't fight a perception of privilege with vibes alone. If people believe you're connected, backed by elites, and operating in an insulated world, the only way to change that perception is to deliver results that feel real to ordinary people. Not just, California is big and successful, but here's what I fixed that made your life cheaper, safer, and easier. Concrete, visible achievements matter far more than stories or optics.
It was never on my bingo card. I didn't grow up saying, one day I'll be this person. There's not a photo on the wall of me
there
meeting
are people
someone.
that think that you were that way back in the day.
I think well, that's a whole deeper conversation of perception versus reality. And I have a lot of work to do on that. And I'm going to be doing a little more of that with this book. And now it sounds like, oh, here, he's got a book. Of course he's running. Yeah. But truly, I've got a book that I'm putting out early next year, that I've been working on for 4 or 5 years, because I can't take the perception of me versus the reality of what I experienced growing up and in my own childhood and my own experiences. So I'm trying to shapeshift that from my perspective, not everyone else's.
What's the biggest misconception about you?
I just think this notion, I don't know where, I know where it comes from, but I think this notion of the silver spoon, I was born into great wealth and privilege, and it's quite the contrary.
Because the average person doesn't live the 4th largest economy. They live, rent, gas prices, and the sense that buying a home feels like winning the lottery. They see humans suffering on the streets and wonder why no one seems able to fix it. They feel the frustration of every process taking forever. If your leadership story doesn't meet people where they live, all the macroeconomic stats in the world won't make a difference. Yes, Rogan can exaggerate. Critics can overstate problems. California isn't a collapsed wasteland. It's still a magnet for talent, innovation, and opportunity. But it's also a place where the gap between world-class and dysfunctional can feel like one freeway exit. That tension is real, and it's exactly what a long-form conversation would expose. If I were Newsom, I'd stop trying to win on Twitter and start trying to win in the actual format. The longer this goes on, the more it looks like he wants all the benefits of Rogan's audience without risking Rogan's questions. That's not how credibility works. You don't get to claim bravery. You prove it by doing a thing that's actually scary.
Many regulations that aren't necessary, you really don't believe that the state we live in, California, is lacking regulation. There's over 300,000 regulations. Well, maybe they're needed. They're not. When I tried to put in a garage door, I had to have 3 inspections. There should have been none. I should be allowed to change my garage door.
Are you kidding? Really? It was about a garage door?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. That is.
And if I were Rogan, I'd be honest too. Having Newsom on would be huge. Massive views, massive cultural impact. But it's also a gamble. If Newsom shows up prepared, relaxed, and actually answers like a real person, he could soften his image for millions who only know him as a slick political avatar. That's why this standoff matters. It's not just about whether he goes on the show. It's about who benefits from the conversation existing. But the most important part, the part everyone keeps dodging, is what this says about leadership. Leadership isn't about winning clapbacks. It's about results. If you're running a state and people feel like the system is working against them, you don't fix it by calling a podcast snack-sized. You fix it by cutting red tape, building housing, cleaning up the streets, making public spending actually produce results, and running a government that feels functional instead of a bureaucratic maze designed by a bored villain. So here's my question to you. If Newsom goes on Rogan, does he actually help himself, or does the format expose him? And more broadly, should politicians be forced into long-form conversations where they can't hide behind rehearsed talking points? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm genuinely curious where people land. And if you've made it this far, you already know the routine. Like, subscribe, and comment with your take. Team shows up and proves it, or Team Rogan isn't obligated to host your campaign ad. Either way, this saga perfectly captures modern politics. Less policy debate, more viral moments, and a constant battle over who controls a narrative. Meanwhile, real people are still waiting for real fixes.